Then I can do this.
I can do this.
Kyle's like, nope. I can do that kind of with my ankle.
I can pop my wrist.
I pop my elbows sometimes. No, it's not working. Oh, there you go.
Now for our feature presentation.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of How About This Movie. Today we will be talking about the 2019 Netflix film, The Highwaymen. The shout out for The Highwaymen goes to... Jerome. I'd also like to say spoiler alert for the movie since it's like 3 days old or something like that. But also, it's based on the story of Bonnie and Clyde, which is like 80 years old. So if we say too much and you didn't know what happened, sorry.
That's your fault.
Yeah, the material has been there for a while, so.
It's the story of Bonnie and Clyde. So.
Kind of. Just from a different perspective is all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
the story of Hamer and
Galt,
who were the former Texas Rangers that killed Bonnie and Clyde, or perpetrated the killing of Bonnie and Clyde. Basically.
Aided in the Louisiana Sheriff Department killing Bonnie and Clyde?
Yep. Tyson, who was in this movie?
Well, first off, it was directed by John Lee Hancock, who also did The Blind Side. Stars Kevin Costner of Dances with Wolves and Waterworld fame.
And just so many other good movies.
All of very similar movies.
Well, he was in Field of Dreams, which is a baseball movie, and he was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which is a Robin Hood movie.
And he was in Bull Durham, which is a baseball movie, and then For the Love of the Game, which is a baseball movie.
I think Kevin Costner likes baseball.
He does.
Wasn't he also in Game Day?
He was the lead in Draft Day. Yeah.
Draft Day. And The Guardian.
Oh my god.
One of my favorite movies, me and my sisters growing up, because it's him and Ashton Kutcher.
That movie is really good.
Who are Coast Guards.
Yeah, they do
the save diving. They dive into waters and save people. So they do the whole water training camp, and Ashton Kutcher's name is Fish.
Well.
But we'll talk about that more when we watch that movie.
Or when we do our Kevin Costner feature.
Retrospective.
Retrospective.
We should go back through and see, just a quick sidebar, go back through and see who we've watched the most of their movies, and that should be our first retrospective, so we'll have to watch a couple more. Okay, continue.
Also had Woody Harrelson, who was in Zombieland and Natural Born Killers.
And White Men Can't Jump.
Yep, White Men Can't Jump.
And Semi-Pro. I think he likes basketball.
And the Hunger Games.
Yes. Yeah.
He was also in the flop Rampart.
He was also in Defendor. And I don't even know what Rampart is, so I'm sure it was amazing.
Kingpin?
Kingpin? He was in Kingpin.
He was in Kingpin.
Terrible movie.
It's a great movie.
I've only seen it once, couldn't remember it well enough to install myself in this debate, so.
Also Kathy Bates, who was in Misery. Probably most famous for Misery.
Probably most famous for Misery. But she was also in The Blind Side.
Mm-hmm.
Was also in The Office.
Yeah.
For 4 terrible, terrible episodes.
But she was amazing. I also loved her character in American Horror Story, but that I know of, she was only in the one, so.
Plus that show sucks.
Also had John Carroll Lynch, who I forgot what he was in.
Who did he play?
He played the
Was he the bald guy?
Yeah.
He was in Zodiac Killer.
He was in Zodiac Killer.
He was the guy that they think was the Zodiac Killer in the Zodiac Killer movie.
He was the guy
Isn't that
who
movie
they
just
think
called
is
Zodiac?
the Zodiac Killer in the Zodiac Killer movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zodiac.
I was like, is there a Zodiac and Zodiac Killer?
No, just Zodiac. I'm just dumb.
Okay.
But that's all I wrote down.
Yeah, I mean that
was all the people who had significant lines.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you went the extra mile, honestly. By putting 4 people down, so.
Yeah.
They spent all their money on just the main 2, so.
Hey, they had to recreate like 3 1930 Ford cars, so that was at least $6,000.
85 horses.
That's my reaction to cars with 85 horsepower. Too fast! So damn! So we kind of already touched on it. The Highwaymen is about the story of the 2 former Texas Rangers that were brought out of retirement and kind of led the final hunt for Bonnie and Clyde. Stars Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson as the aforementioned Highwaymen. Highwaymen, I learned today, was their term because the Texas Rangers were disbanded, and they were brought back as basically highway patrol. So that's why it was Highwaymen. So now you know. You're welcome, idiots.
Wow. Wow.
It is.
The Texas Rangers. I guess we can mention why they brought them out of retirement.
Because
they're the best.
Of the best of the best.
They had Clyde in prison.
No.
And then he broke out.
No. Clyde was in the car.
Oh,
they were just breaking out people in their gang.
CW was in prison?
No, CW is not a real person.
Who was the third person?
I don't remember their name.
Did they not have a third person? Because they had a third person in both movies.
Yeah. They didn't really specify who the third person was.
Oh, because he got the whole deal, and so his identity.
It
so
was,
they just beat up somebody?
No, it was a real person. It was,
Moss? CW Moss?
No, CW is not a real person. Where did I put my phone? I promise. Because the guy that CW is based off of, he's based off of 2 people. He's based off of WD and, like, Harvey. And the scene at the end. So I just have to look up. Yeah. CW is an amalgam of multiple gang members. Yeah, Methvin was the guy's last name. Yeah, so they were breaking out different gang members. So the Wade McNabb guy, Henry Methvin, and then WD, who is not mentioned in the movie this time, I don't believe.
So who's dad?
Henry Methvin's dad.
Okay.
But CW in Bonnie and Clyde, which we'll get to later, was based off of Henry and WD.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's Ivy Methvin, Henry's dad, that was like the guy who got his... Yeah, he was the bait guy that got his son the deal so that he could kind of walk and not get in as much trouble.
Makes sense. All right.
He was the bait man.
Master Bait Man?
Or the Patrick bait man.
So they had some people in prison, and Bonnie and Clyde broke them out.
Yes, members of the Barrow Gang were in prison, and Bonnie and Clyde decided to lock them, or to break them out. And that, coupled with no results in a 6-month-long manhunt. Lee Simmons. That was his name, right?
Which one?
The other guy you named that wasn't Galt or Hammer. Lee Simmons, right?
The
Simmons?
bald detective?
That the bald guy?
Yeah.
John Carroll Lynn.
Yeah, what was his character's name? Not his real name.
No idea. I didn't write it down.
God damn it, Tyson!
I write down the actor.
What do I pay
It's
you for?
Your job to remember the fucking parts.
I'm pretty sure it's Lee Simmons, and I'm looking it up for no reason, because I just don't trust myself. Boom! Lee Simmons. Lee Simmons pleads with the governor, Ma, Governor Ferguson, first female governor of Texas. So write that down for your history test later. To bring back the Highwaymen so that they could, just go where no other officers could go and get this taken care of, because they're the best of the best of the best. I also found out that when they made the joke about digging up Wyatt Earp, he'd actually only been dead for like 5 years. So that's pretty... I mean, it makes sense because it's an old story.
Yep.
But I didn't know
It is interesting.
I know, right?
White Earp saw a lot of progress in his years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And his girlfriend was addicted to laudanum.
Same.
Dude, now that I know what's in it, I can't say I fucking blame her. Fuck you up.
So was Bonnie.
Oh, it doesn't specifically say she was addicted. Shouldn't just go making inflammatory comments. The estate of Bonnie Parker might sue us for all the luxury that we have.
They do want to keep her name clean.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, you know. But I mean, also, if you were permanently scarred by third-degree burns, you might be a bit of a pain relief addict as well. Tyson, obviously this didn't have a theatrical release, but what can you tell us about the budget?
Well, the budget is estimated to be around $49 million.
49 million billion.
Of your Netflix subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Any other
Tidbits.
Nope. Yeah, kind of
That's all I could find
Yep,
out.
kind of limits us with the Netflix movies.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay.
This is only 3 days old.
It's also it's only 3 days old.
So
I actually don't even know if it's that old. I think that it came out on Netflix like today at like midnight today. I think other people just saw
it is
advanced
brand
screenings.
spanking new.
Yeah.
This is the newest release we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on how long it takes us to get it out.
Yeah.
Because I think we did Holmes and Watson like opening weekend, but it took us like a month to get out. So it's good, be around the same time. Carly, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
When Kevin Costner went to go buy some guns. And he's like, "Oh, that'll do me." The guy's like, Which one?" And then going out to his car and seeing Woody Harrelson. Woody just being like, "I saw you, bitch. I saw you come to my house and then turn around and leave."
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite scene.
Tyson, what was your favorite scene in the movie?
I like the car chase scene through the desk.
That was so clever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that really... well, actually, that's a lie. I do know that did not really happen. But that was so clever. Like, let's leave some in the dust. Yeah! That's what they sounded like, right?
In Texas?
They were
Absolutely.
Texan. Yeah.
So wait, Scooter. That's some slick driving.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
What about you, Daxton? What was your favorite scene?
I liked kind of any scene that depicted Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner being reluctant best friends. Where Woody's just kind of like, "Yeehaw, I'm the upbeat guy." Kevin Costner's like, "I'm the sulky, sort of guy."
Or any scene where Woody Harrelson...
Woody always had to pee!
Yeah. Pissed like fucking 4 times in this movie.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just remember Woody always had to pee.
Any scene with Woody Harrelson and the actual detectives where they're just like trying to be all like, "Oh, we're in charge, you're just a bunch of old guys," and they're just like, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah.
I take everything back that I just said. My favorite scene was right after Kevin Costner, or right after Hamer and Galt said that Bonnie and Clyde would be back on this day. And then everyone's like laughing. I'm like, "Oh, they're not coming back." And then they get drug out to the crime scene where the Bonnie and Clyde just shot up 2 cops, and they're like doing all their like
Crime
analysis,
scene.
and they're like walking around touching shit with their bare hands, like kicking stuff and like, "Whatever, nerd." Ha ha.
They go over and pick up an empty shell, and the dude's like, "Yo," and he's like, "You still have 2?"
That was my favorite scene. Because they're just like, "Nope, this is how real detectives do it. That's why you solved like 6 crimes."
They're like grabbing fingerprints, and then Kevin Costner is just like looking around, and he's like, "There's this thing by the fence." The dude's just like Go check the fucking fence line.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
That was good stuff.
What was good stuff? Carly.
Yeah.
Why would you score this movie? And would you recommend it? That's not a good sign.
I actually really enjoyed this movie because I love Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner.
Oh, they're tremendous. They're so good.
I don't know if I've ever seen them in anything together.
No.
Is this their first time being together?
I think so.
They were in one other movie together, but Kevin Costner was only in as a cameo, so it wasn't like a real.
Real like
Yeah.
they're
They didn't even have a scene together.
they work pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the best mashup of two actors, but this was a pretty good duo. I would probably say 8 out of 10. Just hilarious, and it, from what I've seen of both movies we watched, seemed to stick pretty well to the story. But I don't know which movie is true. So I'm just gonna say that it's pretty decent. Story-wise, truth-wise. And then that's entertaining as fuck. What do you
Tyson, what was your favorite? Tyson, why would you score this movie and would you recommend it?
I give this a 7 out of 10. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Somebody's got some time and they're looking for a movie on Netflix to watch. I'd say watch this one. It was pretty good.
Yeah. I think I'd split the difference between you guys and be like a 7.5. I also really like Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. I would definitely put them up there amongst my favorite actors of all time. Both of them. I think they're both really good. As far as accuracy, this film is more accurate than the other one we're about to do. Still not great as far as all that's concerned. But I'll touch on that in a minute.
Still a little embellished.
Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely recommend it. I had a good time watching it. I think it's a good movie. It does a good job telling the story. Kind of get into that like conversation of like how you should portray criminals. Like I don't want to delve too deep into that water, but like everything else is about how like awesome Bonnie and Clyde were, and they're like modern day Robin Hoods and blah 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 blah. Modern day Robin Hoods that killed a lot of people, and that kind of gets glossed over.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie shows the other side of that, and I think it did a good job of not showing Hamer and Galt as these two just otherworldly saint characters. Like, what was it, like 30 minutes into the movie, and Hamer's assaulting a gas station attendant?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I think it's better, to just show people it in a more true lighting, and not glorify villains.
Mm-hmm.
Got off on a little tangent there. Can't remember what I was saying. But yeah, recommend it. You should definitely watch it. Anything else?
I think it's interesting how they wanted to show Clyde's dad and how his feelings about all the happenings are, where he knows it's going to go down in like a bad way and just wants it to be over with so his family doesn't have to like keep going over this like tragedy that keeps happening with his family.
Yeah, I mean, like I said when we were watching it, I'm sure it's hard to be the parents of the most famous criminals in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you live in a small area like that.
All these kids are reading about it and they're like reading about all the bad stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. And also Kevin Costner's wife just being like, I can tell you're too fucking old, but you're not going to listen to me.
That's a subtle way to do that, because that's still like saying, hey, you're too old for this.
When was the last time you held a gun?
When's the last time you stood up off the couch without grunting?
Wow. That got me.
That's what you say to old people. Old people have to grunt when they stand.
You're an old person, Carly.
It's okay, it's not mine. Fun facts. Obviously, the movie's pretty new, so there's not a whole lot of fun facts for it, so I decided to kind of scroll through the list. I wrote one down that I thought was kind of neat. but it's mostly just like things that were inaccurate, like embellishments and things like that. Because the movie, like I said, it's not super accurate, but it's pretty accurate, and they tried to be as accurate as they could be for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So the actual ambush scene in the movie was filmed at the same location of the real life ambush.
Really?
Yep.
That's pretty interesting.
The gang member that they tried to flip, Wade McNabb,
Okay.
was actually not killed because he relayed information to the authorities. He was killed because the Barrow Gang did not appreciate his his attitude in prison, the way he carried himself. So they got him furloughed. The Hamer and Galt had nothing to do with him being furloughed. The gang got him furloughed, and then the gang killed him. So that was poppycock. The story Hamer told about being shot as a youth was actually true. The film depicts them running into Bonnie and Clyde multiple times, like, near miss here, near miss there, trying to apprehend them earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually not true. Galt and Hamer never saw Bonnie and Clyde before the ambush. So they were always like kind of on the trail.
Just behind them?
Yeah, but they never actually saw them until they set up that ambush in Louisiana.
Interesting.
And at the end, when it showed the big procession of distraught fans after Bonnie and Clyde were brought back into town dead, that is partially true. The actual procession of people showed up moments after the ambush.
So once word got out that they got shot, everybody...
Yeah, they showed up on that back country road. And it kind of showed snippets of people like reaching in the car and trying to pull them out and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That is also true. They kind of gloss over the fact that people were trying to take souvenirs off their body. One man cut off Clyde's ear.
Jesus.
Another man tried to cut off his trigger finger. People were pulling out clumps of Bonnie's hair and like ripping off pieces of their clothing, things like that.
So disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, they're criminals, but still, once they're dead, just leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah. Well, and again, with how these two were beloved, it probably wasn't even in a place of malice. It was probably coming from...
Yeah, just wanting to have a souvenir
of what they just experienced. Some people took shell casings and pieces of broken glass from the ambush as well.
That's way more agreeable.
Yeah, that's probably... If I was gonna take something, I think that would be it. I don't think I'm gonna take a dude's ear or a lady's bloody hair. But that's just me. Yeah, so...
In the movie, when they showed, like, them towing the shot-up car with the dead bodies still in the car, it seemed just like almost like an in-your-face parade.
Right.
And I was just like, that seems wrong to just be parading these dead bodies around, and it seems disrespectful, but back in the day, it's not a whole lot they could have done. They couldn't call an ambulance to put them up on gurneys and then take them to the morgue. Like, they had to get the car into town and bring them into town. That's really the only way they could have done it.
Yeah, it's true.
Did we get a count on how many shots were actually fired into their car?
Because
the number is excessive.
It's hard to say. The report is about The report was about 50 rounds into the couple between the two of them.
That's excessive.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure, and the car kept moving.
But all three accounts, because basically how the story was broken down was Hamer and Galt told one version, and then the two Louisiana cops told the one version, and then the two other Texas cops told another version. So it's all kind of like everyone tried to tell it to make themselves seem like the badass in the moment.
But wasn't there like a ballistics team that took over the car that counted them all?
Not really. Not back in 1930s.
Mid-30s.
The mortician's report said that Bonnie took 24 bullets and Clyde took 17. But, I mean, that's not... They even said themselves they're not certain that that's the right number. But that's what the official, like, death report says.
That's excessive.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 or 2 is enough.
Yeah. They all accounts said that they all unloaded their rifles and unloaded their pistols. So you'd think there's 6 cops, 20 to 40 rounds per rifle, and then another 6 to 12 per pistol.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot. Yep. And they all admitted to continuing to fire long after they thought they might be dead, just in case.
Yep, that's excessive.
Yep.
It's excessive. And watching the movie, it went on for like 45 seconds.
Yeah, it was really long.
We were just sitting there. I thought, like, shooting scene. Oh, wait, it's still going.
Oh, wait, it's
what?
still going.
Oh, hold up.
Yeah.
Half the movie's a shooting scene.
And then the car started rolling and they were still shooting it. I'm like, they know that they're not, like, driving it, right? Like...
Yeah.
It was rough.
For, like, just because I kind of forgot, for one brief moment, I thought that they were just, like, extending it just to extend it. Like, what's his name? You know the guy. The bloody
Tarantino?
guy. Yeah. I thought they were Tarantinoing the last scene, but then I remembered, like, no, that's actually what they did to Bonnie and Clyde's car.
Mm-hmm.
It's true to life.
Not only their car, but to them.
To them, yes. To the car and all of the contents of the car.
Mm.
They wanted to Swiss cheese them and have much more air than there was cheese.
Yeah, the coroner's report also noted that the bodies were very difficult to embalm because of the many wounds. Couldn't keep the embalming fluid in long enough, so it took a long time to embalm them.
I mean...
Yeah.
Terrible people all around.
Yeah.
They show that the funeral happenings had like 15 and 20,000 people in
Yeah,
each,
they were
right?
really beloved people.
Were they closed casket funerals or...
Oh, I hope
not. You want them to just be like...
I want to be preserved like this.
Missing ear and just bullets all up in the face.
Patchwork haircut, because overzealous people are fucking with their hair. Yeah.
People still trying to cut off hair at the funeral. Ooh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that no one outside of like the family got to see the bodies, but there was probably some sort of like extended procession thing that drew those large numbers. Yeah, I mean, whether rightfully so or not, those two are really beloved people, and it definitely showed by the amount of adoration that was poured upon them even after they were murderized. Turned into ground beef with bullets.
Oh, you decided to cut the scene in half?
I think that's all I've got. Yep, that's all I've got.
Cool.
Thanks for watching. Comment down below what movies you think we should watch. Why don't you comment down below whether you think Bonnie and Clyde were good guys or bad guys? Because, you know, that's still a relevant topic of debate.
They were killed fucking
80 years
80
ago.
years ago.
86, I think? 86 years ago?
It was well established they weren't good people.
No. Remember to like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Follow us on the social medias at Jecll Studios, all around, you know, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's the other one. If you want a chance to win the shout out, follow our Facebook. Carly posts obscure pictures from the movie we watch, and the first person to guess it gets a shout out in the movie on the podcast. That's You don't get a shout out in the movie. You get a shout out on the podcast.
The movies are already filmed. And
Yeah.
then we watch
Watch
already
them.
filmed movies.
And then we talk about them.
Yeah.
So we don't have like the ability to give you a shout out in the movie because they are already made.
Daxton making false promises.
Yeah, that's what I do. I think that's it. Anything else?
No.
All right.
No.
Well.
Next episode.
Oh yeah, we're gonna continue our Bonnie and Clyde double feature with Bonnie and Clyde from 1967. So that'll be
Coming up.
next. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and as always, Manos Arribos.
That's all I have to say about the movie.
Oh, that's not a glowing endorsement.
Fuck, stop it.
I'm not doing anything.